right, welcome to Chuck Builds. Today we are doing a tier list of the best and kind of some things that I wish I had done better around my smart home. I am preparing to move and I will be hopefully recording a whole new series of videos with me making decisions, purchasing, installing, setting up a new smart home in the next few months. And I wanted to do kind of a retrospective on things I've done on this home in the last 3, 4 years. What were my favorite? What were some things that were hidden gems? Which were some things I wish I improved upon, or what I would not recommend you do with your smart home? Not really going to say I'm a definitive source on this. This is all my feelings. This is how I implemented it. If there's something that you see me call out that you don't agree with, let me know in the comments. It's very possible that I did something one way, you did it another, and we have different needs or a different opinion of how that worked for us. I have several icons on the screen that are black on black right underneath this table, and so we're going to be getting them at random. I'll have a link in the description and a brief write-up on my website for each of these items, an Amazon affiliate link if you'd like to purchase it. And some of them you may not want to, but I'm going to go through and just kind of talk about each one and kind of reflect on what's been a good purchase or a good item in my home. I've polled myself and my fiance to find out what we thought were some of the best and worst things of the smart home, and we're going to pull randomly from the list. We've got smart air conditioning. So I use an Ecobee. I like Ecobee. I've used Nest. I've used Honeywell. Ecobee to me is the winner of those. I like their mission statement. I like the way that their little remote sensors work so that if you're in a room and it's not the temperature that it should be, it helps detect that. So if you have first floor air conditioning and your office runs hot, if you put the sensor in your office and when you're in there, it'll make sure that the AC keeps running until that room cools off. But there's not that many features that I find myself really using, and I constantly am adjusting it. I wish it was a little bit smarter to adjust for a comfortable setting. Sometimes it blows too much and we get cold when we normally wouldn't, and sometimes it's much too warm in the middle of the night and I have to get up and adjust that even though it's set to be something else. Fully admitting there could be some user error on the comfort settings there, but I'm going to drop it in B. I'll probably end up purchasing Ecobee again. I don't really think I'm going back to Nest. I didn't like that their adjustments were a lot more forced. The best feature about this to me is the vacation mode and the energy saving when I'm not home, but it's not really a huge winner, and I wouldn't put this too high on your list. If you really find yourself gone a lot, or if it's a vacation home and you don't want to find out you left the AC running and you already drove 9 hours home, it's great to get remote control and make sure it's what it should be. Or if you're somewhere that the winter hit and you didn't go visit and you want to make sure the heat's on, there's some value there. Next up is CCTV cameras. I'm going to put this in S tier. I had an intrusion in my home a few years ago, and the cameras really helped me figure out what was going on and where, and captured it all on video to show the police afterwards. If you want to see a little clip of that, it's in my security system video. And that kind of plays together the security system, security cameras. If I were to do it again, I would probably get different cameras. I got some not cheap Reolink ones, and they work pretty well, but I primarily use Frigate as my NVR, and they don't play too great with Frigate. So I'll do a little bit more research there, and maybe I'll end up with some Amcrest cameras. Maybe I'll stay with Reolink. But that is S tier for me. The peace of mind, being able to check in on the house on vacation if I'm somewhere else, or even just seeing with a camera inside the house which dog threw up on the rug when you're not sure which one it was. It's kind of nice to be able to go back and see some of that. It's really nice to know who's ringing your doorbell and whether or not you want to answer for a solicitor. Where I get the most utility out of it on a day-to-day use that I'm like, wow, smart home, this is awesome, is with Frigate. And I'd highly recommend that to turn on lights in your backyard wherever you are. That's been awesome for me. Kind of hard to delineate. Forget the software. There's definitely some configuration issues that I have there. It's come a very long way, and I hope it continues to develop. And I'm sure there's something I've got wrong in my settings. It's just not quite that reliable. The cameras themselves are HD, they look good, but sometimes there's some issues integrating. Next up, we have a button. I didn't really have a logo for this. It's just a finger touching. I'm going to put this as A tier, just for the utility and cost. They're like $9 or $10. You can get a Zigbee button. There's tons of people that make them. IKEA has one. I use Akara buttons. Zigbee button by the bed. When you're getting ready for bed, you tap that button and it sets the lights to sleep mode, arms the alarm, locks the doors, makes sure the garage door is closed, turns on notifications that if someone is seen in close proximity to your home, it'll ping your phone. There's just so much utility to these, and I'm not a big fan of pulling my phone out and hitting a button that way. Every time I need something, I try to automate as much as I can so I'm not constantly interacting with it. But just having a physical click button somewhere that you can get to it for a very recurring task. If my phone's already been put away for the night, I don't need to go get a bright screen in my face. I can do it blind in the night, reach over and click the button, turns off the lights, turns on the fan, sets the alarm, all of that. And I really enjoy that. Is it going to be the best thing in your home? That's a constant wow factor? No, but for the price to how much I use it, I think it's up there. Next up is a faucet. This is something that I wasn't even going to include on the list, but my fiance called out as her favorite item. She called it S tier. I'm going to knock it down to A because it's just not that smart. It doesn't integrate, but it's a touchless faucet. It's a faucet that instead of turning the knob, let me get my hand up there. Instead of turning a knob, turn it on and off, you just put your hand underneath the spout and it comes on and off. And it's super useful if your hands are full or if your hands are dirty. If you're in the middle of cooking, you touch raw meat, you just kind of get your hand underneath there, it comes on, and it's great. Your hands are wet, you can turn it off and reach for a paper towel without getting water everywhere. We look like idiots when we travel and we're somewhere else and we're waving our hands underneath the spout and it doesn't come on for the faucet. But it's something we've gotten so used to, and it's so just automatic for us that when we do go somewhere else, it's not the same. We miss it. It doesn't connect to Home Assistant, but that's something we'll definitely be purchasing when we move to a new home, and it's something we've really gotten used to. It sounded gimmicky at first, but I'm sold, and I really enjoy that. Next up, we have whole home power monitoring, and I'm going to drop this in the D category. I didn't really have an F category, but I might put it there. Power monitoring on its own is nice. You can do that with a smart plug, and I have many smart plugs with power monitoring on them, but I thought it'd be super cool and useful to see the whole home and see where maybe I'm using power that I don't think about it, or just to kind of get a whole use of how much power is coming and going and kind of track it. I thought it'd be super cool to have a dashboard that tracked that. I did a system with ESP32. I purchased the system online. It was a lot more expensive than I was expecting. It was a lot more work than I was expecting. It took me quite a while to set it up. It took a while for everything to get shipped. It took a while for me to get it configured just right. And it's just kind of finicky. I don't like it. When I have to do ESP home updates, it doesn't come right back on sometimes. Some of the sensors are now showing no measurements when they used to show a measurement, and I haven't touched it. And it makes my power panel look so crowded with all the additional wires trying to measure every circuit. I think the best value there would have been to just measure the power coming and going out of the home. I thought by breaking it out per circuit, I could maybe influence my decisions with the data, that I'd use less air conditioning until summer hit and it was super hot. And I'm like, I'm not turning off the AC just because it's blowing full tilt and using a lot of power. I'd rather use the power. And if anything, I used more of the smart plugs. If I was curious how much my server was using or my desktop computer setup, I had a smart plug doing that. I didn't really use the whole home monitoring. I've got it plugged into Home Assistant. I spent way too much. If I were to do it again, I would probably get the Emporia View and flash ESP Home on that, just because the cost point was so much lower. And I think it's a little bit more professional looking. No one's going to open it and be like, oh my God, what is this? My current setup does not look great. And I kind of regret doing it. It was too much money, too much effort, and I really didn't get the benefit. Next up, we have smart locks. specifically August locks. That's an S tier easy for me. I don't even have to think about it. The amount of utility that this has provided when we are traveling, it's incredible. I mean, I can't tell you how many times in the last 2 or 3 years I've had a delayed flight because domestic flights are horrible lately, and my dogs are getting dropped off, and I'm still several states away, hundreds of miles away, and I can hit a button on my phone to unlock the door, and someone can let them in. If I'm at work and a housekeeper comes by, or someone's coming to do painting or something on the house, I can give them a code with a keypad, or I can hit it on my phone and let them in. With the keypad, I can give them their own unique key. I get notified when they use it. I can have it expire automatically. And I really, really like that it's not attached to the door or attached to the lock. From the street, you can't tell that there's any smarts there. And I think that's a little bit, to me, a deterrent. If I see a bright, shiny black keypad with blue LEDs and a light up screen, I don't think it looks nice, and I can't help but think it's not going to last in the elements. And it makes me wonder if I can come up with a giant magnet and get into your house or something. A little overdone there, but I think the less they know about your lock, the better. And then this way you can design it to match the decor of your home. August, to me, has been great. They have a lot of functionality with Z-Wave, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth. Granted, you have to buy an additional little thing for the Wi-Fi, but I think it's pretty good. I really enjoy the auto unlock and the door ajar feature, that the door is open versus closed. I use that for automations. Could you have a separate door sensor with your security system? Absolutely. But I think one less little stick-on battery sensor is fine. I really enjoy the August. I hope they keep making them. I feel like people don't really like August for some reason. They don't like the look of it, I guess. But I've been very impressed. For 5 or 6 years I've used it in multiple apartments and homes. It's easy to take with you. It's not permanently attached. It's just on the inside, so there's really no concern about the elements or how it's going to hold up long term in the sun. Really, really enjoy that, and it's really nice to let someone in remotely for just so many reasons. Next up, we have smart lights. I think this one is going to be an S or an A for me. S tier is probably where I'll leave it. I love the smart lights. Will I make changes in my new home about the smart lights? Absolutely. I currently use Philips Hue lights here that are the recessed can lights that are like one piece. It's not just the bulb, it's like the whole enclosure. And I liked it. It is a little expensive. The color range is great. The color is great. The brightness, it could be brighter. The cost could be cheaper, but I suffered through paying for it once. I did one room per month, so 4 lights at a time, and I now have just about my whole house using them. And I love the effect of it getting bright white during the day and very warm, dim light at night. I can have a sleep mode where it's practically red when it comes on. I don't buy color bulbs. I'm really not into the RGB thing. I don't like it. So the color temperature of these is a very high priority for me. But Philips Hue hasn't really innovated in quite a few years outside of their TV offerings and like landscape offerings. So I'm really excited to see some different bulbs and get some different fixtures and like actual lamps in my new house. And I'm going to get some different bulbs that the hookup recommended. And hopefully it'll still meet my needs, but if not, I'll fall back to Philips Hue. I really enjoy the effect. I'll stop there for the lights. There's some other items I'm going to talk about around the lights coming up, but adaptive lighting, home assistant, tapping the button, automating it, turning off the lights when you start a movie, turning on the lights when you walk into a room. I think it's awesome, and that is worth the money, and I'll absolutely be doing that again when I move. Next up is a Zigbee logo, and it's just a logo for wireless interfaces. Zigbee was the only one I could find that looked good in this format, but I'm talking about Zigbee, Z-Wave, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Thread, Matter, all of that wireless connectivity for smart homes. I wish I had planned it better. I did it very ad hoc. I added on over many, many years. The technology changed a lot over the years. And while Zigbee is my biggest mesh network and probably something I'm going to use the most going forward, I wish I'd been more intentional about it from the beginning. I'm going to give it a C, not for the shortfalls of Zigbee, but just the current connectivity landscape, the wireless landscape for these locally hosted wireless devices, it's changing so much, and I hope it continues to get better. And it's just moving so fast. Thread, Matter, all of that, I really haven't bought into it. I haven't seeked that out for any of my devices. I think I'll just happen to purchase those products anyway as it becomes more common, but I'm not seeking those out. And I had a few Z-Wave devices here as an option, and I've really moved away from Z-Wave. I only have my smoke alarms on Z-Wave and my August locks on Z-Wave. It's mostly worked pretty well, but the Z-Wave price point is so much higher than Zigbee, and the number of options available there's just so many less devices out there. I'll definitely continue to use Zigbee when I move. I'm going to try to use less Wi-Fi just because I feel like my Shelly Wi-Fi devices drop out more, my Wi-Fi cameras drop out more. I want Wi-Fi to be focused on high bitrate use for devices, phones, laptops, streaming sticks. I don't really want to have a bunch of these devices connected. I don't like that I need to put it on a VLAN and keep it from the internet. I like the idea of a locally controlled wireless network. Zigbee, to me, there's more options and it's cheaper than Z-Wave, but just in general, I want to be more intentional about using a local control device. I want it to be on Zigbee to MQTT, so I look in one place when I know something's not working, and I really want to use less integrations that I need to track what changes are happening and why something stopped working. Overall, I'm giving wireless connectivity a C, but Zigbee itself is just a logo. I'll continue to use Zigbee, and of course, I'll most likely be using Wi-Fi in my home as I go forward, but that's somewhere there's some room for improvement, and I'm excited to see what comes in the coming years. Next up, we have person detection or motion detection. I'm going to drop this in the A category because it's something I'm absolutely going to continue doing when I move to a new home. I'm going to try and improve my execution of it. I think the effect it gives walking into a room and the lights glow on and come on and are adjusted to the day is excellent. I love that. I love not reaching for light switches, but I definitely think I need to step up how much I'm spending on these sensors. I usually use these little Akera PIR sensors, and they're great for hallways and rooms where you're just walking by or coming in. But if there's somewhere that you're sitting down and working, you really want to get a millimeter wave sensor. My fiance would probably give motion sensing to the C or D list because when she works out of the kitchen on her laptop, you've got a laptop in front of you, you've got your waist under the island, just your head is really visible to the PIR sensor or the millimeter wave, and it just doesn't see you. The lights will turn off on you, and you've got to move around to get the lights to turn on, and it's frustrating when it doesn't work. Over the past few years, I'm very happy with it, but there's definitely room for improvement, and I think we can get it to the S tier with some more careful purchases about what sensor I buy and where I place it. And I'm going to kind of add on to this with the cameras too. The presence detection through Frigate in the backyard, having the lights turn on via where you stand on a camera, you can draw zones. If I'm in the driveway, turn on the driveway light. Otherwise, just do the backyard light when me or the dog is out there. Super cool not having to reach into my phone to turn those on every time. And it's something I got really used to. Next up, we have leak detection. This one's a little tough because it's not just one item. I'm going to try and break this up though, and I'm going to talk about the Flow by Moen that I purchased. And the Flow by Moen on its own gets a C. It was so expensive and it only lasted about 2 years. Right now, it does not detect water for me. It doesn't measure the flow rate of water through my home, and it used to. Some design flaw in their impeller broke, and I was able to get a repair kit, but the amount of work that I need to put in turning off the water and the access where the flow is, I can see the flow itself, but to get what I need out of there, it's going to be a bit of a project. Outright purchasing a leak detector or an automatic shutoff valve, if it's not the Flow or if it's the improved version of the Flow, is probably closer to a B for me. The impact it has on your insurance for me was tremendous. It paid for itself in 1 year and continued to give me a very large discount on my home insurance every year afterwards, knowing that I was getting alerted for any leaks. On top of that, I said I was going to talk about different products. I have little Akera leak detectors, Zigbee leak detectors underneath every single appliance that has water. So if my washing machine sprung a leak, it would turn off water to the home, and I can limit how much water damage is going to happen by the amount of water going into the home. If you're living in a freezing climate that's not built for the cold, like I am here in Dallas, Texas, it's super nice to hit a button and turn off the water when a freeze is announced, especially if you're out of town. Having the leak detector turn off the water and you can open a faucet, you can get all the water out of your pipes and not worry about a burst pipe. The insurance part of it was huge. That is an A for me. The flow by moan itself is a C for me because it broke after 2 years. It was like $1,000. And then the Zigbee leak detectors are an A for me. They've worked great. The battery life is great. You just put them everywhere, and a 4-pack is like $30. So it's not too expensive to just put them everywhere and know that you're covered. You do have to keep an eye on the battery level and make sure they're still connected and not getting kicked around underneath the dishwasher to the wrong spot. But overall, the leak detection I think is a B. Will I do it again when I move? Only if my insurance gives me a discount. At a previous place I lived, my insurance required that I purchase a flume leak detector, and that went around the water main and counted the ticks on the physical measurement by the road and relayed that back to the house over a wireless protocol and told me how many gallons it was using, and it would tell me if there was a leak, and it was pretty good. I haven't had a leak, so I don't really know how sensitive it is, but it gave me a good readout every week about my water usage, and I liked that. And it was significantly cheaper than the flow by mowing, but it's also not as functional because it can't turn off the water automatically for you. And a lot of that discount is the automatic shut off portion of that device. Next up, I have Smart Irrigation. And this one I was kind of hesitant to include. I don't think the functionality is incredible. It's not life-changing, but the price is right and it just works. And because it just works, I'm going to give it a lot of bonus points and put it in the A category. Previous owners did not have a working irrigation system. I walked around on the app and set it all up very easily. I actually found a zone that I didn't even know existed, that the previous owners did not disclose that there is irrigation on a part of the yard. And so I was really happy that this worked, and I stopped using it. I have the app installed. I think it's offloaded from my phone. I connected it to Home Assistant. I never connected it to anything. I never made it smart through Home Assistant. And it's great. It works. My grass looks good. It doesn't do the water when it's going to freeze or if there's a lot of wind. I set the schedule the city gave me for drought times of you can water between these hours on these days. It tracks what it thinks my soil dryness is and keeps it watered and looking good. I really want to emphasize how nice it is to set something up and forget about it. I'm using a ratio irrigation controller. I'll have a link in the description. The thing just works. A little bit of setup to tell it the zones and the time of day and your type of soil and what plants are there. I don't think it's life-changing, but I did have an experience this past winter where I had to drive to my parents' house to turn off their sprinklers that were blowing water full blast in the middle of a snowstorm and building up a bunch of ice everywhere. And I couldn't believe that their irrigation system didn't have smart weather control, that it was well below freezing, that it was windy, and that there was going to be snow forecasted. The sprinklers came on and sprayed anyway. It's lucky they didn't have a pipe burst because of that in the sprinkler system, but I didn't like that I had to drive in the ice to go turn that off. And I kind of gave a little bit more respect to the irrigation controller that day, that I could just get on my phone and make sure that it knows the weather. It's also nice that it doesn't overwater if it's going to rain. It holds off. It's been pretty good. So this was a quick little video going through the tiers of some of the smart home things that I think about being in this home. Something like a security system I left off. It's so personal. It's so, it depends on how you're going to use it. But actual like choices around the smart home, I'm going to be changing things up for sure when I move, and I'm leaving a lot of the smart home behind. I'm leaving the lights in. I'm leaving the irrigation controller where it is. I might be leaving the locks. I'm not sure yet. Depends on who buys this house and what they want. And I'm excited to kind of dip in and see what's new out there and really plan this smart home from the beginning. And I'm going to document all of that for my YouTube channel. So make sure you're subscribed to check that out. I'm really excited for this, and I think there's some great content on the way, but I also wanted to kind of take a minute and reflect on what's worked in my home and what hasn't. If you have any questions or opinions on what I've shared here, let me know. And again, if you want any of these products or you want to check out what I'm talking about, I'll have them all in the description. Amazon affiliate links where I will earn a small commission. I'm not really plugging for these brands too much. They haven't paid me to say any of this. I'm just reflecting on what's worked for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.